So wanted to kind of do a quick overview of where the Winter's Orb Castball Channeling IceStorm build ended up at. So basically it's a heavy int based. As you can see, we've creeped over to 1500, almost 1600 int. Ideally we want to push that to about 1700, 1800 in min-max stage. We also want to push our strength up because we're using a Cyclopean belt, so we get 1% well, dex or strength, but we get 1% increased damage per 5 of our lowest attribute. So right now we're picking that up off our dexterity. As far as the tree goes, basically of course we're a scion. I originally started this taking the assassin because I wanted to crit strike with my Winter's Orb. It really just didn't, it was better just to go pure raw damage with some penetration from the Inquisitor. Made it more damage and it just felt more even. Made our IceStorm, which is our boss killer, a lot more efficient at very almost non-noticeable change to our clear speed. Plus we also picked Path of Templar up and grab one node here, and we picked that up because we're running a Pure Talent. Pure Talent gives us damage penetrates 5% elemental resistance with the Templar, and then of course we're connected to Scion for 25 all attributes, and I went ahead and extended my energy shield down to Witch, so I'd also pick up the 0.5% of maximum regenerated per second, maximum mana regeneration. So if we also look here at the Inquisitor, we're getting the 6% penetration plus the 5, so we're at 11. And then of course we're immune to elemental aliens or elements while we're on consecrated ground, and nearby enemies take additional 10% increased damage. For the tree, basically I always come out this way first, pick up our Pure Talent because it solves all your stats issues in full. Exceptional performance. This skill duration buff helps the Winter's Orb, so we don't have to charge it as frequently, and it keeps our IceStorm raining longer, which means more stacks, which means more damage. Then most of this is just picking up dexterity, and then using Fertile Minds to convert that dexterity to int. So you can see here this is plus 20, usually it's just plus 20 dex, and the Fertile Mind makes it 20 int. We pick up our Val Pack, grab the 30 wisdom here for the int, and then basically we're just grabbing nodes that we need. Another Fertile Mind, convert that to int. Chaos, because we need to be CI, obviously with this kind of build. Ghost Reaper, so our leech is applied to that. Open slot where we're just picking up additional int, cold damage, extra energy shield, and I ran the 3% reduced mana cost so that my channeling is lower, which allows me to basically, as you'll see in the videos when I'm full maxed out, keep my regen going. Basically grabbing int, NES, coming across, went and picked up Frostwalker for the 20 cold and the resist. When I converted off of doing crit, of course you'll pick up Elemental Overload because you will crit all the time, but I didn't have the multiplier, so that's good. And then once again another Fertile Mind here for the agility, cold damage, come in here. Now the reason I picked these aura nodes up and this one right here is only because I have this helmet with the Cyclist skill gems at 90% mana multiplier. It means, and I've actually kind of broke the helmet with some crafting, psychic crafting for a different build. I can actually reserve all of my mana with it. I can actually run Herald of Thunder as well, and basically have all 4 Herald of Ice, Discipline, Arctic Armor, and Herald of Thunder all running at once. But to do that, I had to squeeze these nodes in just to get my reservations down enough to run basically 4 auras. Just coming over here for energy shield, resist, picking these up for additional damage and freeze chance and damage against freeze, because everything's going to have frozen apply to it just about with the much damage as we're doing. So we're going to pick up the increased hits against frozen shocks. So that's kind of the skill tree in general. There is here just another open jewel for additional things, energy shield, int, cold damage or area damage, those kinds of things. And then of course the key is the Watcher's Eye with energy shield gain for each enemy hit by, while affected by discipline. This is the bread and butter absolute key to making this like fully in-game viable, because basically every one of our IceStorm pelts along with our Winter's Orb pelts or hits basically give us 30 energy shield. So we are regenerating massive amounts. Plus it also comes with energy shield, life, and additional mana. And one thing that some people don't understand or forget, even though we have CI, there's there's an advantage to still keeping life, because stun is based off what your life pool is before CI takes effect. So basically, even though we only have a 1-to-1 life, we actually technically have a life pool that's just being set to 1. But what that life pool is before it gets set to 1 is what our stun is based off of. So it's not bad to carry some life in places. I don't suggest sacrificing int or ES or anything like that to get it. But when you get combinations of things where you can get like ES, life, and int and damage, cold damage, all at the same time, don't think that that life is useless. It actually does carry a bit of value to not being stunned. For the skills, we finally actually have a Whispering Ice Staff that's 6-socketed, 6-linked. Now, typically with Whispering, your IceStorm does not have to be linked. The only reason this is linked is because we're basically linking for the Winter's Orb. So Winter Orb is picking up the greater multiple projectiles, the cast while channeling obviously. It's giving us Life Leech. Life Leech is probably your most key gem to get leveled and qualityed first, because quality gives it additional increased Life Leech per second, which makes your Life Leech just super fast. Without that quality, your leech seems kind of slow even with Valpak. So you definitely want to get the quality there. The concentrated effect, because this is actually an AoE, because each one that hits the ground, it's ground targeting, Winter Orb ground targets. But then it does a small AoE with each projectile. So this helps boost that as well, along with the controlled destruction, because we've swapped back off of crit to get that. So those are those links. I'm running a 5-link with Stormbrand, one of the best skills ever for cursing on hits. I know the de facto in the past has always been Orb of Storms. Forget Orb of Storms, swap that out, pick Stormbrand. Why? Stormbrand can be attached to the enemy, aka the boss as he's running around the arena and you're dodging. 2, it actually arcs out and hits nearby enemies, so every time it pulses, it's basically kind of like a mini arc, so it applies really well, and it basically fires really fast. So it's great at cursing entire packs. Blind support. We need to be more defensive. We have like almost, well, Memory Vault is giving us a ton of defense, but without it, and if we swap this for an actual ES helmet, you know, we'd be pushing much higher, probably into the 9,000 range on our ES, 10,000 range ES. And like I said, when we're full, one reason I'm running that is you can see that I'm getting 17% reduction at the moment. When I was fully, meaning I'm running the other two and this is full max, which you'll see in the videos, that actually jumps up to about 30% estimated physical damage reduction. That 34% reduction with a granite here. As we can see, if I pop that, it jumps to 36 with a granite flask. So I almost have 40% physical damage reduction purely from this helmet and one granite flask. So between those two, it was worth losing that 1,000 or so ES that I could be getting just out of that aspect. Plus the mana regeneration lets me keep up a ton, and it's not bad on the overall energy shield value anyways. Now, of course, if I could get a helmet enchanted with Winter's Orb and a few other things, it would probably be better fit for this slot. But this is not a helmet that should just easily be forgotten to exist for this build, because it actually does do a pretty good amount of defense for us. Because we have such a large mana pool. I mean, we're at almost 2,000 mana, and we're already going to be reserving a ton of it with Discipline. Already boom, half gone. Typically you're going to want to run Herald of Ice, and you know, so at that point you're already at 75% reserved, which is about what this looks like. And as you can see, we're immediately gaining 34% physical damage reduction, which is actually pretty big against. I'm running it this league because of the Syndicate. Then everything else is basically int, energy shield, and resistance. And here's kind of what I'm talking about, where that plus 50 to life, I'm not panicking about trying to like annul off and find something else that fits in there better, because it does have some value to our stun resistance. Similar case there. Here, yes, I mean, there's still a lot of room for min-maxing. I put the -7 once again so I could just, when I'm at full, it keeps me able just to basically constantly just hold this down and never ever have to see my mana move, period. Which, when I have reserved down to like 46 mana, is kind of important to do. In the other video where I showcased the in-game mapping, you can see it's pretty straightforward, easy to play, fast. It clears really quick actually, because Winter's Orb's doing all the clearing, and then the IceStorm is doing all the boss killing, and Syndicate killing, Delve boss killing. Those kinds of things are all happening off of the boss there. And it's always a little deceptive when you're looking here at our average damage, especially when we're dealing with, there we go, Winter's Orb, things that charge, and IceStorm is there. Now, the damage per use for IceStorm, each one of those pelts is basically doing that, and as you can see, there's a ton of pelts per cast. So each cast, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, there's somewhere around 50 pelts that are almost all gonna, in some form or factor, overlap. So you're really looking at, let's say, even half of those. So take that, multiply it by about 30, and that kind of gives you what your base damage is, plus you're also getting the Winter's Orb damage as well. So that's the kind of the final piece that I have. Like I said, I kind of just finished it at 92 at the moment with the build, and I'll link the path of building in the video.